Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the Can podcast, lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures
And lessons.
and lessons. I'm Daz.
I'm Debbie.
How's everyone going? We are slowly trying to add more things to the set for our visual watchers or our audio listeners. I am actually trying to improve the audio as well. So I appreciate any feedbacks in the comments, or if you know me directly, just message me. And hopefully we do better over time. But let's kick things off with our palate cleanser.
Yes. 101 things I learned in culinary school. Second edition.
Let's go with number 11. 11. Double digit.
All right. So this one looks like it's about how to properly hold a knife. So the title is Shake Hands with a Knife. To hold a chef's knife properly, rest your thumb on one side of the juncture of the blade and handle and let your middle finger and pinky finger grip the handle naturally on the other side. The index finger rests on the side of the blade near the handle. Choking up in this way will give you maximum control and minimize strain on the wrist, a critical consideration when working all day in the kitchen. Never rest your index finger atop the blade pointing down its length. While this may seem to lend stability, it will actually increase wobbling and rob your strokes of power and accuracy. And then it's just actually got a picture of how to hold it, which is actually not how I hold knives, because I just hold the handle. Apparently, you're supposed to be holding at least the top part of the blade. See?
I think that makes sense. I think I hold the knife properly. I don't know if everyone else was doing that while you were describing it, but I was like using my fingers to try to like figure out how I hold the knife to see if it matches the description, which I think it does. It kind of makes sense. You have more controls if you're kind of like, you have weight on the main blade.
Maybe I just don't cut enough, but I just hold literally the handle and then cut things. The thing where you hold, well, you're not supposed to do, where you put your index finger on top of the blade, I've never done. I thought that always felt very awkward. But yeah, okay, all right. That's a nice, nifty technique, and I might actually use it the next time I cut something.
Awesome. All right, let's dive into our main course today. So I've been hanging out with a few of my childhood friends recently, which jogged a memory of mine. As many people or regular listeners know, I have a lot of hobbies that I rotate in and out depending on, I don't know, my availability and whatever I feel like at the time. And one of my hobbies is playing pretty like casual, cozy games or just like games in general. I get really funny about calling myself a gamer because I don't know what the strong definition of a gamer is. I think it's a little bit, I think some people get upset if you call yourself a gamer, depending on what their definition is. So I like just to say I like games and I play them, not necessarily well, not necessarily the way you may want me to play it, but I play them and I like them. And I'm talking specifically in this case, like video games, whether it be like via a console or on computer. Admittedly, I haven't played a lot of games in the last, I want to say even decade, in comparison to how much I used to play when I was younger. But hanging out with a lot of people from my childhood kind of like jogged that memory of like, oh my God, I remember that's what I did in my childhood. I was a little bit sheltered growing up. I wasn't really allowed to go out as often as other people. So I kind of just had to like keep myself busy at home. I'm not sure if I like discovered it on myself or it was influenced around my cousins. So for a bit of context, I have a lot of older cousins and they are what I would call gamers. And they played a lot of like kind of online games on their computers, which they like to play like, I think they're called MMOs, multi multi-universe, multiplayer something, but essentially, and then it's like followed with RPG role-playing games. But essentially, they're online games where you have characters and you level up and you do quests together, but it's an online world. So every other character you see in the world are also other users around the world. And I guess the role playing is because you like trained to be like certain kind of jobs in the game. So you can be a warrior that specializes in like more like attack, whereas you can be like a magic person or like a healer or something like that, which you would train to be more of like a support character. So when you do like group quests together, everyone kind of plays a role to defeat like a powerful monster or equivalent. I used to play those games. Plus other kind of like tangent type games where there is an online community and it might not be as role playing as that. Like I played this other game called Gunbound, which is probably one of my favorite games ever, where that game is essentially all you do is you join like rooms and stuff like that and you use like angles and you use factors like the wins in the game and stuff like that it's a turn-based game where you try to beat the other teams by like shooting things at them.
Yeah. I think I've actually learned that through yourself, and I remember playing that game. Like, because they came out with like another like iteration, which wasn't Gunbound, but it was called something else.
Yeah,
Hamatos or something. Or I don't know.
There's been a few. So some other ones that I picked up across the years are ED Tank was one. And on the tablet/phone, there was Mini Toss.
Mini Toss, that's the one I played.
But they're all kind of like the same, but different. Mind you, so I was like a pretty active person on Gunbound. I was also an active person on a few other games like Maple Stories, Ragnarok, and all those kind of like free-to-play kind of games. But this is when I was like probably between the age 7 and I'm going to say 13, like pretty young. And I think I was influenced by them because it was kind of like the upcoming age of the internet. So I was just like discovering things on the internet. So part of it was self-found, but I was too young to kind of like actually proactively find those things, I think. But I had a lot of older cousins that were very active on those games and really good at those games as well. And when I went to go visit my cousins, they would be playing it. So I would watch them play and I'd be like, I want to play it too. And besides being like really fond memories of my childhood, and I'm pretty sure I got a lot of lessons from it, I realize in hindsight, now that I'm an adult, I am so grateful that I had older cousins to help me navigate the internet. And when online like community and interactions started becoming a thing, like this is the age of when forums and talking to strangers were like the norm, instant messaging, like your AOL and your MSN and stuff like that. Like this is the upcoming age. Like today, it's the norm. And I think there's a lot more digital literacy. And I think there's a lot of like more known, like a lot of people understand the environment a little bit more. So people tread more cautiously. And if you're an adult, you try to like teach good habits into the younger generations, right? Like it's like cyber safety. Don't talk to strangers, always check if someone's true, like what are other kind of like cyber things? Like put your profiles on private. There's a lot of like privacy settings that you can control.
Don't use your real name sometimes.
Don't use your real name. And even like these platforms have given into those pressures and they even have new kind of guardrails and mechanisms to kind of help protect people's privacy as well with these things, right? But when it's up and coming, it's too new and that stuff doesn't exist. Thankfully, my older cousins were old enough to kind of like have some self-awareness, have some kind of like smarts when navigating the internet. So they like instilled so many things early on when I wanted to play these games. I think they went about it really wise because they knew they could not stop me from playing these games, downloading them and making an account and just like navigating it. So instead, they preferred that they were aware about what I was doing and try to influence how I interacted online. So there was a few rules. First of all, any game I picked up, I had to add them all as friends. So they saw when I was online and not. They were chronically online. So it was very likely that if I was online, at least one of them were. so they could watch me and know what's going on. The second thing was they drilled into me, don't ever, ever use your real name. Like, just make up a fake identity, have an alter ego online. And thankfully, I'm like a pretty creative kid. And I was like, oh my God, I love the idea of having a fake identity online. So I had a fake identity online. I pretended that I had a certain name. I was a certain age. Speaking of age, the other thing that they always told me was minus years from your actual age. Like, if I was 10 at the time, pretend you're 7. If you were 12 at the time, pretend you're 7. And at the time, I was like, oh, whatever. I didn't think too much about it. I just listened to them because, like, they're your, like, godly older people that you look up to. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to listen to everything you say. However, in hindsight, I'm like, that's so smart. Because if you're younger than your age and creepy strangers are still talking to you in, like, a gross way, that makes them extra creepy.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, the flip side is also like, if you might be even more susceptible to, like, you know.
Yeah, but they, like, I think
like definite pedophiles.
Yes, but then they would catch that early because in a way, if they think you're younger, they might try other techniques to try to manipulate and groom you. And they're a lot easier to see through. So
what happens if you pretended you were older? Maybe then they wouldn't be interested in you because you're too old. Like, that could be the other side.
Story related to that. So because all my cousins kind of drilled that into me quite early on, when I turned 18, that was still in my head. And I didn't comprehend it fully to then. I kind of get it now. But even at the age of 18, when they're like, when you go out and strangers talk to you, just tell them you're 16. Because you'll get creeps that be like, oh, she's underage, and like leave you alone. But then the creeps keep talking to you, like red flags times 10.
Yeah, okay.
And that happened to me. Like when I was 18 plus, I would like be alone in public and a creep would come up to me and try to kind of like talk me up. And even if I like try to be polite and kind of like, you know, brush them off, they would be persistent. And then inevitably, because you look quite young at the time, like they have to check, it comes up with, hey, how old are you anyways? I would always lie and be like, oh, I'm 16. School holidays, like, you know, you make up whatever the context is. They back right off.
Okay, well, at least they're considering the legal issues with chatting up a
so it works most of the time. But when it doesn't work, like that person's even creepier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like it works both ways, really. If you inflate your age or deflate your age, you're gonna, you know, you can attract different types of creepy people.
Yeah. Anyways, you don't want to attract any. Like the whole objective of what my cousins were like instilling in me was like just to protect myself on the internet. Like their biggest thing was like, just don't talk to strangers, please. But like I was young and dumb, so I was going to talk to strangers anyways. Like I was naive, easily like molded, whatever. And they like looked after me the best they could. But I definitely still talk to strangers. But I did talk to strangers if there was like kind of like bad energy, I would kind of just like cut them off and like not talk to them. But they obviously couldn't protect me from everything and they couldn't watch what I was doing every day all the time. They did check on me like quite regularly enough. Oh, have you made any friends recently? Blah, blah, blah. And like try to figure out, like suss what was going on and was always really careful. They actually knew all my internet friends and stuff like that. And they would tell me who to like keep, like who would be okay to keep talking to versus who not. Or they would like suss them out themselves by like befriending them. And they were always kind of like desired to like be friends with online because they were like good at the game. And normally people who are good at the game online, people want to be their friends. Like in Gunbound for a period of time, we had there's a concept in games called guilds where it's like a formal group of people in a group. And then like as you do tasks and you play the game, you're contributing to your guild's ranking and stuff like that. and my cousins formed a guild, and they were like one of the highest ranked guild because they were like really good at the game. So like they had rep.
Yeah.
So it's kind of easy for them if they ever wanted to suss people out. But I have like a few stories online where I was just like really stupid, and despite all the advice and guidance I had growing up, I still fell into stupid things. Thankfully, nothing too harmful, just stupid. So, and some of them paid off like, thankfully, like, well, like some of them worked out. My favorite one was in Gunbound when I was probably about, I'm going to say 11, maybe 10 or 11. I was playing and I was like talking to strangers, and I'm not naturally a good gamer. So I'm not good at the games. Like I just like playing it, but I wasn't great. And then like, if you're not good at a game, the internet's quite mean. So a lot of other gamers are quite mean to you if you don't perform, because these are like team games. You join a room and you're playing with strangers and you're trying to win for your team, and then if you're performing badly, then you're letting the team down. And I did that quite often, shamelessly. I didn't care. I just wanted to play. And I remember this specific game, and I was playing with a bunch of strangers, and I did really poorly. So they were all just like talking really bad to me and like kicked me out and stuff like that. But then one of the guys on the team like added me, and then he was really nice, and he was just like, "Hey, like, sorry everyone was mean to you. Like, that's not cool. Like, don't get it to get to you. Just keep trying. Do you want to like try to rank up?" So ranks in games is like the more you play and the better you get, you rank up, and it kind of like shows what level you are. And when you play games at random, they try to match you at like equal playing people, so that when you actually play, it's like a fairish game.
Yeah.
So like it's good, and then also like it motivates you to train and get better, so you can get a high rank. And this person, I forgot their name. He's like, "Oh, if you want to play like a few games together today and this week and stuff like that, I can help you rank up." I was like, "Okay, like cool." Like it was really nice, and we did, and we like played together, blah blah blah. And then he did ask me about my age one day. Like he's like, "Oh, you seem quite young." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm only like," I lied. So I was like, "I'm 7." And he's like, "Oh my God, you're like a baby." And he must have been a teenager or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, I actually have a spare account. Do you want it? It's only like one rank higher than what you have at the moment, but it has like cosmetic clothes. And in games, you have to spend real money to get like cosmetic clothes to make your characters look cute." And I didn't have any money, and I wanted cute stuff. And I was like, "Oh, yes, I want cute clothes." And he's like, "Yeah, like you can have that account so you can like play it." And then he gave me his account like for no reason at all. Maybe it was like an old account and he didn't want it anymore. Like I don't know. He just gave me his username, his password. He's like, "Oh, you can have this game." I was like, "Oh, thanks." That was like one of the stories that paid off, and I never talked to him again. Don't even remember who his name is. I'm pretty sure he just like stopped playing the game one day, and we just like stopped talking. So that was one story. But the funny thing about that one was I like to play female characters online because normally female characters are like cute and I like the aesthetics. And then the character he gave me was like a male character, so I didn't like him. So I think I gave the account to like someone else I knew.
Well, at least that ended up wholesome and just general generosity from a person that plays a game versus anything sinister and like, I don't know, hacking into your account because you put your details into that, or I don't know. But yeah, that's a nice story. I think the internet probably in its sort of infancy was, I mean, you had people that were obviously on there for, you know, maybe devious reasons, but it was also because it was still fresh, the level of, you know, perverseness or creepiness was on a much smaller scale. And a lot of times it was just people wanting to meet each other, connect, you know, people that they might not be able to meet that live in different countries, or, you know, forming friendships because, you know, maybe they just couldn't form real friends in, you know, the like physically in where they were living. So, yeah, there was some definitely much more, like I said, innocent times back then. Whereas now it's like everything you sort of see or hear where it's slightly suspicious or too nice, you kind of just assume there's some scam or, you know, something that's, you know, not right about it.
That's so true. It's so interesting. Like the fresher something is, there is kind of like a wholesomeness at the start. Because generally with these platforms, probably less now that technology is mature. So a lot of things that are getting created today are probably like done for commercial driven reasons. But a lot of like origin stories of like new things, they're like done for wholesome reasons to begin with.
Yeah, like think about crypto. Crypto. Well, I wouldn't say crypto was wholesome as why it was started. There was a philosophy and idea around Bitcoin and, having a universal sort of currency. And then, when there was sort of the crypto boom and all these meme coins and stuff, like it started off fairly well and people were making a lot of money, but people didn't fully understand it. And then there came like, the scammers who would, launch coins and then, run off with the money and stuff for, yeah. So it's like
They ruined it.
Yeah, they ruined it. And I think that's sort of where, more of government intervention came in where, they're looking to, have some level of rules and laws around it. And I'm sure the same was with the internet, like that's why there's probably a lot more legislation. But it took, decades to actually get them into the works. Sometimes things just happen so fast. Like, I guess you can say the same thing about AI now that, people just don't know how to respond or how to like manage it effectively because you don't want to also like create so much red tape and bureaucracy where it, stalls or potentially reduces innovation. Because that's where things become less exciting when people are like, oh, okay, we have to do this and follow XYZ rules.
I agree. Which is why I praise my cousins for never like taking something away from me, but instead just trying to like make it safer for me to navigate online.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a trust thing. It's like maybe, as opposed to just going, completely on the one side and banning you and like cutting off your access to computers and stuff. It was sort of like, all right, you can play, but like involve us and then we'll keep a watch. But if something happens and maybe, luckily nothing did it in the end?
Nothing happened.
Okay.
Oh, actually. So nothing happened that was drastic. I got scammed online probably like 3 times in the total of my life. The first one I can think of, and I kind of feel bad because I got my little sister scammed as well. So we all were playing Maple Stories and this very common trick online. For no reason at all, like you play with people online and they just go, oh, drop your items. Like drop your items in a row. And then like we'll race to like get our items to see who can get all the items in the row quickly. And then whoever wins like wins. And then they're like, and then if you win, I'll give you like a rare item. Hearing it out loud now, you're like, why are you so dumb and gullible? Why would you drop your items like in front of a stranger?
Because I'm assuming they can pick it up and run off.
Okay. I was really, really young. And my sister was even younger. And I was like to my sister, oh my God, this guy's going to give us this rare item. Let's play the game with him. Like, I reckon we can beat him. And we dropped our items. We don't even have that rare items because we're kids and can't afford good items. But we had items that were like hard to get or we worked hard to get. And then, yeah, we dropped the items and he's like, ready, set, go. And then he would just steal our items. And then my sister got so angry at me. It was like sauce.
Plus
and
you
then
were her older sister too. Yeah,
I'm the older sister. I'm supposed to know better, but I didn't. And then my brother, who's like a gamer and a little bit like better on the internet, like he heard the story and he's like, why are you guys both so dumb?
Yeah.
and then my other younger cousin, who also played the same game, like she heard the story too. She's like, you're so dumb. I pull that scam. She's like, I scam people. She's like, you can't be in the family and fall for the scam that I pull.
Maybe it was her on a different account. Who knows?
Oh my God, that'd be like next level funny if it was actually her. No, she just did it for. She's she's just cheeky. That cousin who scams people, she didn't do it like maliciously. She's like, I did it to teach people a lesson, not to trust people online.
Did she return the items?
She low key was just like, I saw the opportunity and I took it. She would I don't know if she ever did this, but she would be the type if she ever played something long enough. There's this concept on games where you can like have like game boyfriends and get married in games and stuff like that.
God.
And it's like not uncommon. I never did it, but it's not uncommon for people to like form a relationship online. This is like old school internet dating, I guess, but in game. And then like they would act like a couple in game. So like they would buy each other gifts and stuff like that. More often than not, it would be like the male buying like cosmetic, real money gifts for the female and stuff like that. And I can imagine her being the type that would just marry someone just for free stuff. I mean, if I was wiser, I should have done the same, but I was not that wise.
That happens in other games that you could, not necessarily games where there's real people playing, but like in The Sims, yeah, like you could do that where you marry up.
You talking about real life now?
Huh?
Are you talking about real life?
Oh, because it happens in real life too, but I was thinking more in games in like The Sims. Or what's the other game you play? The Stardew Valley, where you can have like multiple relationships with people.
Yeah, but you get no gains. And the relationships you're forming aren't with real people. They're just with NPCs.
Yeah, with NPCs. But apparently they have feelings and they catch you and stuff.
That was like a later patch in the game, which I thought was really funny. That's fun though. That just adds to the story arc. In the games I'm talking about, they're real people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess like that, maybe that's how like the whole sort of token donation thing started, you know, when like, you know, when people were like doing webcam stuff and you can like donate a coin or something. And
Pretty sure that's still a thing.
Yeah. And then it would be like worth actual money. Was it worth money?
Yeah. Live stream, a lot of live stream platforms are basically that now. You donate through like badges or stickers and stuff like that, but they actually translate. So like a red car would equal to about $100.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
So that's how it started, you know, gifting, you know, clothes and like essentially like digital presents. But that wasn't like gifting them literally money. You're giving the money to the game owners, and then you would be able to give this little bow tie or this dress or whatever.
Change your hair color, change your face. That was like my favorite thing. All I ever wanted to do in games was buy cosmetics, hair, and cute outfits or like pets. Like sometimes you can have pets in games. Like that was really fun.
I never really got into like the whole accessorizing because they actually introduced that in the later Pokemon games where you could like buy items or find them and dress your Pokemon up, and then there would be competitions in the Pokemon games on who was like, you know, dressed the cutest and everything, and then they had it for essentially like I can't remember what the game was, but it was a game about like cars, and then you would start off with a very basic car, and then you would make money through like winning drag races or doing certain tricks, and then you would use that money to buy like accessories for your car. So you could like
GTA different.
No, that's different. This was literally like game, like cars. There was nothing.
Just cars.
Yeah, you couldn't even see the driver. You would literally just drive. You were just the car moving around. And you could, accessorize your car and like buy new bumpers, lights. And I didn't really get into it. So, but I remember a lot of people playing that. And this was like back in like the early 2000s where like, you know, pimping up your car was like the thing. Like, you know, having like the big spoiler, the really low height card of, you know, what is it, like bottom to floor road thing, and rims, like upgrading your rims, having like massive speakers and cool lights that like change different colors. It was a really different day and age back then. Whereas now it's like every car on the road is mostly just straight from the dealership. But I'm not sure whether it's because it's just a lot of car manufacturers have gotten really savvy with their designs, because a lot of cars just look really great as they are and don't need any sort of mods. But yeah.
I think a lot of car enthusiasts still customize their cars. Maybe the look isn't the same trend as what it was in like the 2000s. However, it's not uncommon for people to customize cars when they're a car enthusiast. Like I think the motorsport and also just like motor hobbyist community, like they're still quite active in it. But I think like now, instead of it just being like a mainstream thing that everyone kind of like wanted to do, now it's like a community of people where that's their hobby and their enjoyment.
Yeah, so it's more like, it's not as like mainstream anymore.
Yeah, because it's also quite expensive.
Yeah, like just like even back then it was expensive, but it was like the thing to do, and then everyone would like parade their cars in certain areas of in suburbs and do like laps and have the windows down and pump music from their like modified speakers.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, I remember.
But now everyone's, driving electric cars that are super quiet and you can't hear a thing. Versus your big sort of revvy,
very
noisy cars.
Although the people who are really into that would never buy an electric car. I have friends who are like car fans, and when they like look at an electric car, they're not judging the driver or the owner necessarily, but they're just like, ugh. The actual electric car.
Yeah, they don't think of electric cars as real cars.
Yeah. They're just things that transport you, but they're not a car.
The thing that I did say that was really impressive is like, I think when you think of like, if you're like a real like car person, like you think of like Porsche as a brand. And I mean, if you ever think of like cars that make really loud noises, Turnheads is like known for like racing and is like, somewhat mainstream. It's like Porsche. And I remember I saw the like one of the ads for the Tesla Cybertruck and how it was racing against the Porsche and it beat the Porsche, but at the same time it was carrying a Porsche at the back as well.
Wild.
Yeah, it was funny.
But
electric cars are like notoriously really quite fast. Like the sort of 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 is like very quick. Because of, I don't know, the way that it sort of amps up quickly. But I'm not a car person, so I don't know. But and maybe that's actually completely false, and I just sort of bought into Tesla's ads. But
marketing works.
Yeah, that's right.
I do remember though a couple of years ago when Tesla like first kind of came, and some of there's like a few online personalities that I follow, and there was a dude that got like, it was an early adopter for a Tesla and he decked out his car. And one of the things he says, he's like, things that people don't realize is like how fast a Tesla is and how quick it goes from 0 to 60. So I think it is true. Like I think that is an element of the vehicle. I don't know the details either because I am also not a car person.
Yeah, I think, it makes, I don't know, maybe it's something to do with like a combustible engine and how it takes time to like get to a certain speed, whereas electric, it's just a bit more instant. But I mean, like we're adopters of electric vehicles because we kind of say it for the environment, but it's also like from me personally, it's like I kind of hate going to petrol and fuel stations because they always kind of feel and give me like the ick vibe, like the idea of touching a pumper that has been touched by like so many people. Although I think I would used to like use the hand sanitizers they would put on the side, but that was also questionable. Like I don't know how often they changed it because sometimes that would look dirty. So I'll be like, am I just rubbing dirt on dirt to like touch this? What are they called again? Like pumps, yeah. And then remember just sitting there and standing whilst you're like, looking at the dollars go up and up when you're pouring petrol, and then going into the station to line up and pay, and then you always end up buying like random like chocolate and candy because it's like you're just standing there and it's like, oh, 2 for 1. You're like, all right, might as well do it. Yeah, I don't really miss having to do that at all. Like having to just be able to charge at home, plug it in, and if you have solar panels, even better because you get to charge for free. But yeah, that was like my main thing around buying an electric car was not having to ever go to a petrol station again.
I would say it's more that rather than the environmental reason. I don't think it's for environmental reason. I don't think that's a driver. It might be like a bonus consequence. But I'm not educated enough about the impact it has on the environment to be able to even comment on that.
I think it's like cars that use petrol like produce carbon, which is not good. Whereas electric cars don't emit any carbon, but depending on by charging your car, the creation of electricity does produce carbon. Is my understanding, because not all electricity is generated through solar panels or wind or water. So that's kind of where a lot of people say, oh, just because you have an electric car doesn't mean you're environmentally conscious, because the electricity that you're using to sort of fuel that might still be emitting carbon. And then also the manufacturing process of electric cars I don't know whether it's any less or more or the same as a combustible engine or car.
It made me remember of a fun fact that someone told me ages ago, and I always have it in my head. Cows' farts produce methane, which is also bad for the environment, I think. Like something
just
along
cows,
those lines.
Or does every animal admit this?
I don't know if it's every animal. I only know about the cow fats. I am also not well versed in this topic. However, I just quickly Googled it because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't spreading false information. And it's mostly true. The only thing that like a quick Google search added as additional context was that it was probably less farts and more burps, but the idea is like cows' gases is like not good for the environment. So sometimes when people say they choose to be vegetarian or vegan or eat less meat for the environment, this is kind of the rationale behind it. So it's the idea is that like today humans actually overconsume proteins like beef, like to the point where it's like it's just excessive now. It's more than we need. And as a result, there's a demand for it. Therefore, there will be more cows, which is worse for the environment in that case. So these are the kind of reasons when people say, oh, I don't really care. Because I've had this conversation before where like genuine curiosity. I was like, oh, like, why are you vegetarian? And they're like, oh, the environment. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And I remember this was one of the facts. They told me a bunch of stuff and I wish I listened and retained it all. I definitely didn't. But the only thing I took away was like, yeah, cows fart and it's like really bad for the environment. So you don't want like too many cows around on the earth. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah, that kind of sounds like a wives' tale or something about them releasing gas that is not good, and just them alone. But it is actually quite strange, and it might be again the marketing, because I've always grown up eaten like way more meat than vegetables, whereas your reference of what we actually need is technically you need to be consuming like, I don't know what the specific portions are, but it's definitely like way more vegetables compared to meat as part of your meal.
Yeah, I don't know the exact ratio, but I remember learning in a health class once. Like if you took a standard plate, like a circle plate, the meat or protein portion of your food is like less than your hand's size. Like that's how much protein you need a day. And it's funny because when people consume a piece of steak, they consume a steak that's like half the plate.
Yeah.
Like, that's excessive. Like you don't need that much technically. People will probably argue straight away, oh, but if I'm like bulking or if I'm like trying to like increase my protein intake, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's exceptions to the rules. But like as a general guideline, your body doesn't need that much every day.
For the everyday human, that's not looking to be a bodybuilder, essentially, which is probably the majority of the population. If you're just looking to live like a healthy average lifestyle, then that seems to be the right sort of proportions.
Yeah.
A hand size of meat, and then the rest.
It's mostly like veggies and
But
not
what
even
makes
fruit.
meat
Fruit's
so?
actually quite fruit's pretty good for you, but it's actually also you don't need as much. Like you need more veggies, and then like for your substantial stuff, it's like lentils and beans and stuff that are supposed to be quite good for you.
But what makes meat so addicting and tasty?
I think it's like amongst all your taste buds, like all your palate. What are the words? All your flavor
Senses.
profile,
Yep.
like the sweet.
Well, we talked about this. Yeah.
It's like a pretty good combination of most of them. So it hits like all those taste buds and ticks a lot of those boxes. So as like a whole experience, it's appealing.
Okay. So it's essentially.
It's like umami and salty.
Well, that makes sense. It's way more delicious. Eating a slice of meat steak is way more tasty than a piece of broccoli. So that makes sense. It's just more indulging the senses that I guess trigger maybe endorphins or some sort of feeling or vibe in your mind that just is like almost a dopamine hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I just picked up a book. I don't know her actual full name, but online she's known as Condiment Claire. She blew up on TikTok a couple of years ago. She's like, has a really interesting background. I think she's like half French, maybe half German. She lived in America, lived in London for a little bit, and she spends half the year, I think, in France with her dad or something like that. Like she has a really interesting like mixed culture. But her day to day, she like just loves condiment, and it became like an accidental thing that she became well known for online because she would just film like lifestyle stuff of herself. Initially, I think she was more like just trying to show like lifestyle, like what she wore in a day, what she did in a day. But then people fixated on her condiment things because one, she just knew so many condiments. So she knew beyond mustard and tomato sauce and stuff. She would like know all the jams and all these other like things that you would, and she would combine everything, try everything, and then like describe the flavors really well. And then she just became known as Condiment Claire. And she also produced a lot of her produce as well because she said it's actually a normal thing in Europe. Like a lot of people would harvest seasonal vegetables and fruits and they will find a way to preserve it, and then that would normally turn into things like jams and stuff like that. So she would always like show that process and then show how she would eat it. Anyways, the whole point of introducing who she is was she released a book recently, the Condiment Book, which is not necessarily a cookbook or a educational book. It's just kind of a book. It has it does have recipes in it though, like what condiment goes well with what, and then it might be accompanied with a recipe to produce that what, or a recipe on how to produce that condiment. But then it also has a lot of page about like that condiment, about its history, its flavor profile. It's really interesting. I just brought it, so I haven't read it fully, but the first few pages actually talks about her opinion. She goes, flavor and taste is different. She said taste is like that biological reaction that you have when you try something and it hits all those senses that we were just talking about. Oh, it's salty. Oh, it's sweet. Oh, it's umami. And then she's like, and then complex flavors is when it hits like more than one and that balance. And then that's like taste. And then she says flavor is the experience. It's beyond the sensory experience because it falls into all these other factors that are a personal preference. So it's nostalgic, it's the visual, it's the it's like your personal preferences and stuff like that, and it's what tastes good to you. And that's what flavor is.
Okay.
That's their opinion, and I hope I'm repeating it well. But yeah, I thought that was fascinating. So it's funny because I think like my opinion about why meat tastes good in particular is like I think naturally it hits a lot of profiles and then you don't have to do much to add that complexity. Whereas I think something like a piece of broccoli or lettuce or something like that, it doesn't have like that natural raw sensory kind of like taste profile, flavor profiles. And you have to do a lot to it to get it there. But in saying that, it doesn't mean that you can't. Like I've had, so I don't like salads. I don't like leaves in general. So I don't eat a lot of salads like willingly at home because I don't know how to make them. But if I could eat salads made by like well-established restaurants that like do good salad dressings and stuff like that, they use the same ingredients, but I don't know how they season it. But that's the complexity that makes it so delicious. And if I could have those salads every day, then yeah, I'd happily eat them for every meal. Because how many times have we been to a restaurant and like, we're like, we can't make that.
There was like a place where I thought we bought like side vegetables to complement the main meal, which was, I think it was like a steak or a fish or something. And it was like, I reckon like it was even better than the mains. It was like this charcoal vegetable where I don't know, it's like
it was a cabbage.
Cabbage, yeah. And it was like so umami. It was probably laced in butter and stuff. So don't think it was healthy, but it was so delicious. Like I thought it was actually better than the meat on the dish. So yeah, I think, you know, you can definitely like snazz up, you know, vegetables to make them really delicious. But then I guess it starts becoming like
work.
Work to make it. It's like you have to put a lot of, you know, extra like makeup on it to make it look nice and make it taste nice as well. But then it's like, I guess all the nutritional and health sort of benefits sort of deteriorate from it. But just on the condiment stuff, because I like love sauces. Like everything I eat, like I have to put sauce on. Like I would be happy eating, and this is like a lot of most kids actually, like eating just a bowl of rice with a lot of soy sauce and like a spoonful of chili oil, and that would be like a pretty like delicious meal. But I love just trying new sauces. And so like when, you know, McDonald's, for example, when they like release those special edition sauces, like they did the Szechuan one, which was like back then it was like done, they brought it back, but they had done one like when the Mulan movie came out and they had like that sauce. And I think that became like viral from, was it Rick and Morty?
Yeah, they just did an episode where Rick was obsessed with it. He's like, I want him to bring it back. And then everyone talked about it.
Yeah. And then they did a BTS collab where it was like Korean, like inspired dipping sauces for the nuggets.
There's a Cajun one.
There was a Cajun, and then there was like a spicy one. And then they've come up with like a really hot, spicy one. But even like, not just the sauces, but like even the seasoning, like when they do, like I love shaker fries, like just like the flavoring that they come out with. So the latest one they have is like the Vegemite one, which is, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but you know, it's like still, you know, different and nice. And I mean, there's a thing that we do where we like love going to, you know, fast food chains that are like around the world, but in different countries, and like trying like their specialty, you know, that's unique to that country. So, you know, visited McDonald's a lot of times in Japan. Where else have we been? Just Japan. Korea. To the sort of Asian countries tend to have like, I think like maybe because it's just more aligned to our palates, but they'll have like really like more Asian based flavors like coconut or mango flavored stuff. I'm trying to think like what specifically has stood out.
I really like the ebi.
The prawn burger.
Prawn shrimp.
Yeah.
Burger in Japan. I think they have in Korea as well. The point is they don't have it in Australia, and I really like it. I'm sad that I can't get it here because I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm not like a big fan of like seafood in burger form. because I also don't like the fillet fish, and I know you really enjoy it. And I think that's a kind of a polarizing, like people either really love it or people just don't like hate it and don't get it.
Oh.
And I've had it, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but like I would always get a quarter pounder or your traditional sort of meat or chicken. Even like chicken, I'm kind of like, I'm not sure about like a chicken patty in a burger. Like I kind of would always steer towards beef. But yes, what was I talking about? Sauces. Like I'm like, I love like trying out new sauces. That's why I'm like a huge like fan of nuggets, because nuggets come with sauce and you can like choose a whole variety of them, and then I'd also dip the fries in it. So I can't really eat food without a sauce. And you've probably seen me like lather everything in like sauce. Whether it's mayo or QP. Oh, QP is like another favorite of mine. I actually saw like how we went to the QP factory, and I think they showed us how they made it. But I've actually seen like the real, like someone actually trying to make it, and it's literally does not look great, but then it still doesn't stop me from like using it because it's so delicious. How would you describe the different taste between just your everyday mayo and a QP mayo?
QP's difference between westernized mayonnaise is that I think it uses apple cider vinegar or something. It has like a vinegar taste to it, which breaks up, I think, the heaviness that Western mayonnaise has, and I think that's the appeal of it.
I would have said that QP is more heavy tasting than in my opinion. But that also makes sense why it's because it's way more higher calorie than Western mayo, isn't it?
I don't know. It depends. I think if you get like full fat mayonnaise, it's still quite high calories. But these days you can get a lot of mayonnaise that are like low fat. So that's like significantly less.
You can taste the difference. Like for me, like when I have a full cream mayo or QP versus like those more healthy alternatives, like I can tell a difference. Whereas say for like soft drink, I can't tell the difference between like a Coke, zero sugar, no sugar, and a normal Coke. Although other people can, which again, maybe it's just dependent on your tongue and your preferences. So what are you going to say?
So Google says it's definitely vinegar in there that makes it a little bit different. I don't think it's apple cider vinegar. I think I made up that part. It just says vinegar generic.
Maybe you're thinking of that Netflix docu.
Or maybe that's why
it's like everywhere at the moment. Yeah.
And why you may think it tastes heavier is people say allegedly it has more egg yolk ratio in it.
Yeah, so that's where the heaviness comes in. Maybe that's actually why I love QP, because I love egg yolk. Like I would also just be happy to eat like rice and a fried egg with chili oil. I literally put chili oil on everything. It's like greatest seasoning for me.
That's a condiment.
A condiment, yeah.
Condiment. All right, let's wrap things up with our dessert. So desserts are our intentional moment that we're taking to appreciate and acknowledge the sweet moments in our lives. So we're essentially practicing gratitude, big or small, anything that's happened recently, anything that we just think of, anything that's coming up. Can you think of anything?
Yeah, well, I think if you're watching the video version of this and not on, are we on Spotify?
Yeah, or I switched to audio on Spotify. I was uploading the videos there for a little bit, but it takes longer to upload on Spotify than it does on YouTube, and I'm not sure why, so I just stopped.
Oh, okay. Anyway, you would have noticed I got a haircut, so I'm feeling really nice and fresh. So very grateful for my Korean hairdresser for cleaning me up and making me look less mop head-ish, which I actually didn't mind as well. I thought that was actually a cool, nice look. But my head feels way lighter, and it's just perfect for summer, which is like very hot. And yeah, it's kind of like wearing a beanie when you have a lot of hair in your head and it's like 35 degrees. So yes, grateful for my Korean hairdresser.
Nice segue. My appreciation goes to rain. Like
What?
the season, like
Oh, okay.
like rain from the clouds.
Okay.
And I'm saying that because I was looking at like plants in general. Like I've been walking past plants and actually like noticing them and in our gardens. And we've had a bit of a heat wave summer, so that's normal. And it gets really dry sometimes, and I can tell the plants don't like it. And I genuinely see a difference when we get like a lot of rain after the heat, and it's almost like the plants are coming back to life. So I have an appreciation for rain, even though, because personally I prefer the warmer weather as well, and I don't always like the rain, but I do like the vibes of rain, of like sitting inside cozy in a corner with like tea and reading a book. Like I kind of like that aesthetics. But beyond appreciating it for creating those moments, I also appreciate it because it's giving like life to plants, which are good for the world and also very pretty to look at.
Except weeds. And like me that do gardening, like weeds are just weeding, and the whole task of weeding is just annoying. And some of them are just really like persistent. They just keep constantly coming back. Whereas the real plants that you want to like keep alive always end up dying no matter how much you try. Whereas weeds just flourish despite zero attention and complete negligence.
That's what makes it a weed.
And you literally trying to kill it. You're like, why keep coming back? And it just keeps coming back, even though you literally are like trying to kill it. It's like the cockroach of, I guess, the plant world.
Although there are some weeds that are quite pretty.
I think that's like part of their attempt to try to like not get killed, is that they try to look pretty. So that I don't know if I've read that somewhere or someone made it up and then I just made it a fact, but like some weeds like purposely try to look pretty so then you don't kill it.
Yeah.
But how does a plant? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do plants actually can think biologically like that? Like I know animals can, they do certain things to deter from predators and survive, which makes sense because in the jungle it's sort of a animal eat animal world. But plants, I don't know if they do the same. Anyway, sorry, just a random food for thought.
True. And then last things, meal prep. So goals that we want to acknowledge or say out loud, or things we're looking forward to that's coming up soon or later or whenever.
God, I didn't remember what I said last week because I might repeat it in the end.
Fine, if you want to repeat it. I can say I'll go.
Yeah,
first.
you go first.
My goal is to cook more at home / eat at home more. I get really lazy times, so I go out a lot to eat. And the motivation, there's a few pieces of motivation. One, it's more financially better. It's more cost effective depending on what you actually buy and eat at home to like cook meals at home. Two, I can spend more time at home and my dogs are at home and stuff like that. So I kind of want to do that. And three, I think I just want to get better at cooking. I'm not that good at the moment, so I wouldn't mind just like knowing how to cook. So then when I go out, I know what I'm eating as well. Because I think it's like nice to know what you're putting in your body. So it'd be cool if I like start comprehending like flavor profiles and stuff like that, so I can like detect what's in it, just so I know for my own curiosity.
Okay, well, it's funny you say that because I'm actually very grateful for drive-thrus at fast food places because it is extremely convenient and you can pretty much just be in your PJs and, order food and pick it up and not have to step out of your car, especially on those like really bad rainy days. The last thing you want to do is step out in your PJs. Although I've actually seen people also go in pajamas to public places, which is fine. But yeah, it's so convenient, so fast. You're like, how do they make the food so fast? Although some places are like really, really like slow and you end up like waiting quite a long time. But McDonald's, at least, pretty efficient with that. And so I appreciate how efficient and fast they are because, yeah, it just makes eating and getting food more easy. A bit more work than your sort of home cooked meals. But, you know, it's all about balance. You can have Macca's once every day. Not day. Once.
So what's your goal? Or what are you looking forward to?
No, that's why I'm saying I'm looking forward to being able to hopefully see more drive-thrus being made for not just McDonald's and KFC, but other places. Because I've seen them actually expand. Like Guzman, for example, have one.
There's one for banh mi.
Is there? Oh, that's cool. They do make banh mi's pretty fast, so that makes.
Coffee. There's a few.
Sal's. Is it Sol's or Sal's? The sandwich place that does drive-through. I saw drive-through Taco Bell, and what's the other one called? They've shut down now, but they did like those burgers. It's a famous burger place in the US, and they bought it here, but it hasn't been as popular. Anyway, if I remember, I'll let everyone know next time.
Cool. All right. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, watching from wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you and we thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later. Bye.